Galactic TV.
Hello.
So today, Sue and I are going to be talking about the spiritual bypassing and the ascension. So, what is spiritual bypassing? Spiritual bypassing is use spirituality to avoid feelings. So that's what it is. If we put in easy definition, but feelings means mostly negative feelings like anger or sadness or sometimes traumas. So let's talk about this. So, Sue, what is your opinion on this or insight?
Well, I'll share my experience with you. And
Okay.
because, I just went through it this week myself. I found myself doing the spiritual bypassing, as you know, and I've said over the last few episodes that we've done these talks. I've just gone through a huge move
Mm-hmm.
from New York to Florida and all that comes with that. So there's a lot of focus and attention and emotion and exhaustion, if I'm being honest, because it's a very trying time. And then we also found and bought a house. So add add some more trying times to what we just been through, and it's been a lot. Okay. And I have a family situation where I don't want to say too much about it out of privacy to my family members, but let's just say there's some people in my family that I haven't seen in almost 2 years that I miss very dearly, and it's because of a conflict. Okay. They're very dear to me, and I love them very much, and I just don't have access to them. So it's a very painful situation, and it's not painful all the time every day, but it's an overall sort of like you get a toothache and you don't really feel it all the time, and then as time goes on it builds, and the irritation is more and more, and then eventually, I mean, if you don't attend to it, you have like an abscess in your mouth and it's screaming at you,
Yeah.
and you really got to do something about it. So what I've been doing is, that's a gross example, but whatever, it's what popped into my head. Um, I've been putting away my feelings about these people in my life that I can't see into a box. And that's how I've been dealing with all the other changes in my life. Certain things happen in my environment that remind me of them, and then I get really sad. But I was what I was doing was I was immediately putting it in that box,
Mm.
to deal with later when all the chaos settles down and the dust settles. And what I found this week is that I hit a wall with it, and then I got a phone call and I got some more information about it, and it just brought everything to the surface. Like that tooth is abscessing now and it's pounding and throbbing and it's going, "You will deal with me or you will be in a lot of pain." And so I had to do, my tears. I had to do talking with a friend who's been through a very similar situation who I knew would understand. Um, and I just had to get real with myself and say, you know what, as much as I don't want to deal with these feelings, I'm still a human being. Yes, I may have higher state of consciousness about the situation. In other words, I understand why it's going on. I can even factor in the fact that the souls that are all involved chose this to play out the way that it is. But that's being in my mind about it. Um, that's like a higher level thinking about something. It's unless I also incorporate dealing with my feelings when they come up and crying if I need to, or
Mhm.
just talking to somebody if I need to, I'm spiritually bypassing my humanity by not allowing myself to feel it.
Mm.
And I really hope you'll talk about this, Erica, because what you said to me, have found to be true. If we allow ourselves to feel it in the moment when it comes up, it usually only takes a minute or two, or, if it's a real serious topic, like maybe 10 minutes of like just actually allowing yourself to feel it. And then it just sort of dissipates. It sort of relaxes. I wish you would maybe talk about that because, um, there's I think there's a big difference between um, over focusing on a difficult situation and just doing your feelings. So what I'm not saying to everybody is I don't think I need to walk around 24, or my waking hours of the day thinking about it and ruminating on it. What I'm saying is I think what's important is when it does come up as a painful emotion that I just have to allow myself to let that play out.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I hit the wall. I was not functioning very well as far as even being able to sit down with you and have this discussion. I mean, we had several plans to do this meeting, and I couldn't because I wasn't right with myself.
Hmm.
And so I don't think I was taking good care of myself by not allowing that to happen. And we are all powerful beings in a human body. And I'm sure we've had lifetime experiences where we were just pure consciousness and we didn't have to, have emotions per se. But we're humans. And so, as no matter how much we grow spiritually and how much intellect and wisdom we obtain in our spiritual journey, we cannot bypass our humanity. I think it's dangerous, and I think we shouldn't even try.
Yeah. I mean, what my guide told me is to feel the feelings each time it comes up. And then my journey, it's sort of in your face. So when I usually don't ignore it unless I'm in deadline or something. But like when things happen, I was putting in the situation, I have to face it. I had to face the emotion, and it was coming up like constantly when I was in the relationship. So I kind of had to. I had no choice but face it each time. Otherwise, you go to the level you can deal with it. Means you can deal with it that you have to kill yourself kind of pain. So I had to deal with it little by little, and then yeah, I was timing it, and then see how long it's gonna take to dissolve this feeling of pain, literal emotional pain. It's not even sadness, it's not even anger, it's a little emotional pain. So I was timing it, usually a minute or two, but sometimes, like when it's really, really severe ones, takes about 10 minutes. Um, I I had to feel everywhere. Could be on the street, could be during watching somebody playing the music, I was doing it constantly. So it kind of became my habit. And then once you deal with it, you feel like, especially people like me who can feel the vibration of people, including myself, when you feel through it, the heavy, dense energy is lifting away from you. You can feel it. And then I was like, what my guide was saying was really working. So after I experienced it, I decided to keep on doing it because they said that's a way to clearing yourself, and then you don't have to look for the feeling. When stuff happens, feel it, feel through it. And that's all, what you're going to call it. The work you need to be doing is you're doing. You don't really
Hmm.
have to do anything like a special energy work. I mean, I'm not saying everybody has to be this level. After you go through deep, deep, deep work on yourself, like me and Sue, we don't really need to go through like a huge emotional work because we've been facing it for years, right? But we still face those emotions. And then when it comes up, we don't really have to go through like 2 hours meditation, for example. But after you've been through the basic ones, and then you are generally very clear, but you still go through those emotions, depends on the situation you're in. And then when you do that, it just goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
Well, like I woke up this morning
mhm.
feeling, I think I told you, feeling like I was wrestling alligators. My body was in so much pain, especially around my shoulders and neck, which is where I tend to carry my stress.
Yeah.
And after I had, the talk with my girlfriend, and we talked for quite a while.
Mhm.
And then we even got to laughing about things because, I was able to lighten up once I let things out. I did my little cry and I did my woe is me, whatever it was I was feeling. And because I felt some woe is me. It's like, why the
Yeah, you
hell is this
have to.
happening to me? Sometimes it's
Yeah.
okay to feel sorry for yourself if you don't
Mhm.
stay there.
Yeah.
Um, but it was like I had had a full body massage afterwards because all of that tension just left my body.
Mhm.
And it wasn't that there wasn't a twinge of sadness still because obviously I still am not seeing these people that I love so much, but it was um so much better and
Mhm.
so much lighter. And just because I let it happen instead of
Mhm.
trying to stuff it back in the box. And so, you and I talk a lot about, and I think this is an important point to bring up in this topic. We talk a lot about staying out of fear. And I just want to say on the record that I think this, just like everything else, is a balancing act. If you allow yourself to do your emotions, don't stay there. Don't like unpack your luggage and stay there, because that's just ruminating on something. It's the same thing with fear. We talk about staying out of social media and news sources or any people that that cause fear for you. But that doesn't mean you're never going to be afraid or angry or sad like I've been. So, I think an important point to make, and I hope I'm making it, is it's all of these things that we talk about are balance. You
Yeah.
know, when we talk about avoiding the news and social media or people that are, town criers trying to make everybody nervous and upset, that's a protective mechanism to keep your vibration high. And so that you're not causing yourself unnecessary painful emotions. But then when you do feel like natural fear like we do when we're humans, I mean, if especially when something big is coming up that we've never experienced before, there may be some fear about that. We're not saying don't feel those things, but you know you don't want to go out and seek them either. And then there's a balance. It's like once you've felt it, however long it takes, whether it takes a couple minutes like it does with Erica, or if it takes you half an hour, fine. But don't live there. Like I'm just not I went about the rest of my day and I had a really nice day and I feel so much better. And now I'm talking with you guys. Um, if I had stayed in that, oh my gosh, when's it going to happen? I'm never going to see them again. My life is, it's totally overshadowing all the good things that are happening in my life. That's not healthy either. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to like talk about striking a balance here.
Yeah, balance is very important because you know, if when you watch truth and news and then when some piece makes you feel really excited, right? Then that's fine. I mean, excited, not excited to get angry. I'm talking about excited for joy of like something amazing is coming, like medbed, then
Yeah.
wow, you can get super excited about it. So I've been finding a lot of amazing news. So anytime I see it, I'm super excited. I don't really get any other emotion besides wow, oh my god, it's like happening. Wow, amazing. So it's balance, right? You have to really watch how you feel when you encounter something. You have to really observe your internal feeling when you are in the situation or when you're watching social media, how you're feeling. You cannot be distracted by not feeling emotion when you are really like good observer, and this you can tell how you're feeling right now. Then you can kind of discern yourself to see, okay, the piece of content I'm watching, I feel happy right now. Or this makes me feel a little bit scared, so I stop watching, that kind of thing. Balance. And
Yeah.
then, some people I do understand feel good about the journaling and then looking at it later. I don't journal. The reason why I don't, because I don't want to remain the piece of the stuff I wrote, and I consider that is an energy gonna remain as some kind of tangible thing. So I don't want to write it down
I see.
unless I have to. So if I do that, after I finish, I'm gonna rip it out and then throw it away. I
Or
know how to
burn it.
keep it. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
can burn it where I'm at.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, if that makes you feel good, but you can write it down everything, but don't look over again, because when you're looking over, this emotion is coming back. A lot of times, people are saying like, oh, it's a good idea to get rid of the items, a photo reminds of you of the person, whatever. If it's, makes you feel really angry or sad or painful, get rid of it, because we do have, association by looking at something. So, we don't have to delve into our emotion when you're feeling of it by looking at something or
Yeah,
reading
like,
it
keep
over.
revisiting it.
Yeah, revisiting it.
It's like pulling yeah, it's like
That's
pulling the
not
scab
something.
off the wound. You keep pulling it off, and it's never gonna heal.
Yeah, so that's not something recommended. So, when it comes up to you, even though you're not, you know consciously doing something like that, then when it comes up to you, it does. So then you deal with it.
I wanted to, ask you, about this. This is kinda how I see Ascension, because we're including Ascension into this title, and, I think a lot of people imagine I don't know, it just from what I read of, blogs and, uh, streams of, texts and posting and social media and all that, kind of feels like people think it's some state that we're eventually gonna get to, and then once we're there, it's like you know everything and or, kinda like you're in a competition and then at some point somebody's the winner, I don't know. But, I don't look at Ascension as being an arrival point. I look at it as being a remembrance of who we really are as beings, as all powerful beings. And part of that journey by choice is that we chose to be human while we're doing that. So, in other words, we signed up for this experience. Why are we trying to bypass the humanity of it? Like, there's no prize for when you reach clarity and it's not a competition. I don't have to compete with you. You don't compete with me. I don't compete with the guy next door. Each one of us gets there when we get there. And by way of choosing being humans to do this, it's we signed up for this experience. Why are we trying to bypass the humanity of it? I don't get it. It's like, okay, these emotions are part of the whole experience, and I easily accept the fun emotions. Why do I have to look at having the emotions I don't like so much as being a bad thing? Sometimes feeling bad or angry or sad or whatever other feeling we associate as a negative emotion can be a very teaching experience. We can learn a lot about ourselves by going through those emotions instead of going around them and trying to convince ourselves that we don't have to feel them because we have these great open minds.
Yeah.
Just kind of something I realized, it's like we're trying so hard to be enlightened, and yet we're missing the experience of being human because we're trying to get away from it because it feels icky, but only for a couple of minutes, right? If we just
Hmm.
keep allowing it, not like
Yeah, I mean, like, especially in the lower 5D, when we go through, because we are at 4.8 dimension, we means humans. Earth is already 5D, so as animal. But we are behind because we're humans, like having more complicated emotions. Dogs, cats, other animals, they have simple emotions, and then they live with the flow. They live in present. So of course they are in 5D, you know. But when we do kind of have to embrace our emotions regardless of what that is. And then even after we go to 5D, means lower 5D, of course we probably not going to feel much fear or anger, but um we still have our emotions. Means like when you look at the degree of like fear, right? Before you felt so much, it seems like so real. It seems like wow, it's so scary. But after like you raise your consciousness, you can kind of notice the percentage is there, but it's not so present anymore.
It's not as intense, like degrees, you
Yeah, you can
in a
still
way.
feel it's there, but it's not like wow. Like it's almost like a tiny, tiny like point, like from huge giant to tiny, tiny point. So
Yeah.
you can kind of see it, you can kind of notice it, but it's not like a wow. You can still notice it, but it's not a wow. Like it doesn't have a too much presence. So that's where I feel like how it is at the 4.8. So I'm assuming when we go to 5D, we don't really feel fear or anger, but we still do feel other four set of emotions, right? So, I mean, by feeling emotions, the way I'm looking at it is we are clearing the collective, we are clearing ourselves. And more we do it, outside will change, everything will change. And then sooner or later, we are at the 5D.
Yeah.
Like people need to look within, not look outside to see, like, hey, what's going on? Because instead of focusing on inside, what's going on with you, that is the most important because you are the most important thing instead of paying attention to what is going on outside, what's happening right now. Is it that important? You are
And
important,
and
you
just
know?
because, also along with what you're saying, I I learned this personally for myself is, I have a lot of really good things going on in my life right now.
Yeah,
Um, just because I have all this happiness around me doesn't mean that something from time to time is gonna come along and I'm gonna feel some sadness about it or concern about it or maybe even anger. Um, Again, I'm not gonna unpack my bags and live in those kind of, things that happen. It can be just like spur of the moment. That doesn't mean, it's gonna ruin your happiness just because some other emotion comes in and and into your awareness. It's just like, okay. I mean, this is life. I don't have any illusions that, now that things are going so well for me that it's just gonna be like that for me all the time, every moment. Because again, we're in a human existence, and even when we get to 5D, there's still gonna be some ironing out of old, the old paradigm didn't create itself in we didn't create it in a small amount of time. I mean, in human terms, the amount of time that it took us to get to a lot of the things that we went through, like war and conflict and political things and medical issues and all that didn't build in a tiny amount of time. So needless to say, even once we do go into 5D consciousness, it's going to take a little bit of adjusting for us humans to work through, the emotions of it, and um, the figuring out how do we function in a society where we don't have to worry all the time. We don't have somebody trying to imprison us or be controlling of us. Like we're being symbiotic with each other by, like, you help me, I help you. This is unity consciousness. It's going to take a little bit of adjustment. I don't think it's going to just be like, oh, okay, I'm 5D now, so everything's all good, and I'm never going to have another fearful moment or angry moment or sad moment. I mean, I think logically speaking, there has to be a transition period. Uh,
Transition period is now.
exactly. And
So that's why this is 4.8. So in the beginning, we don't have, in the beginning of the lower 5D, we don't have fear, we don't have anger, that kind of feelings. But we do have to adjust our getting used to,
that's what
getting
I mean.
used.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can't
because
just go from.
vibrationally, it's impossible to have fear and anger and all these dense emotions that exist in 5D. But logically, like we are so used to old structures, old systems. So in just because we shift 5D energetically, the human, outside not gonna change. Like wow, like all sudden everything gonna looking like a tropical paradise. No, you know,
Yeah, it's
looking
gonna
just
take.
like the same as yesterday, but feels different.
Yeah,
That's how it is.
and that takes adjustment too, I think. Um,
Yeah, that takes adjustment. Like a lot of people at the event, hypnosis or whatever, all these people saying, "Oh, I see the paradise." Of course, it's gonna go to that direction after everybody realized, okay, how are we going to make Earth, which way? What do we like, you know? But it's not gonna like okay, 4.8 dimension, like 4.8 to 5.0 is not that much difference, right? So I'm not talking about, because there are so many timelines. So I'm not talking about people we look at outside. Some people so much fear and anger. I'm not talking about these people. I'm talking about people who are really 4.8 dimension, like feeling this way. Don't have too much emotional up and down. Like our world is pretty much peaceful. So it's
mhm.
not going to change too much difference between 4.8 to 5D. Of course, we're not going to have all this hectic stuff anymore. But
But
still, still,
if you allow yourself to feel
no,
it when it comes,
then you're going to shift back yourself to 4.8D,
that's all right though. I mean, if as long as we're feeling it and not trying to sidestep it. I guess what I'm saying is, like, I don't think it matters when we get there, or even how we get there. But
You're going to
I
wiggle.
think if we don't allow it to come, then we're preventing ourselves from getting there because we're bypassing. And I don't think there's a shortcut that way. I don't think we can talk ourselves into 5D. I think we have to live ourselves into 5D.
That's what
And
I'm saying. So
yeah.
even after we majority of shift ourselves to 5D, sometimes we may shift back to 4.8 until we stabilize, right? That's
But
what.
I think we have to be okay with it, you know? And I'll tell you, as a matter of fact, last night I could have said I was solidly in 3D because I was so pissed off at some information I found out about that I felt was wholly unfair. And I was angry. I wanted to take some prisoners. And but I was totally accepting of the fact that I felt that way. And and guess what? It just kind of dissipated because I allowed myself to be angry. I was like, yeah, I'm angry. And I'm not trying to talk myself out of being angry because I feel like I had a right to feel that way. And there was an injustice that was done. And um but then I got over it and I'm not angry anymore. So it's like I think these things will we'll get through them faster as long as we're willing to feel them and really accept where we are instead of judging it. Because I know some people, I've heard some people say, "Well, I really, I lost my shit, and I feel really bad about that because I feel like I backstepped. I know better." Well, why do you have to judge it? Just feel it. If so, you backstepped. So what? Nobody's keeping score. Um, if I don't judge the fact that I slipped probably wholeheartedly back into 3D last night, if I don't accept that and I'm worried about it, now I'm causing myself another problem, you know? So the bypassing of the actual feeling of the emotions is not helpful. I don't think it gets us any further ascended than if we just felt it and allowed
Well,
it.
if you bypass the emotions, you won't grow.
Yeah.
You won't clear yourself. So you stay there.
I feel
So
like we're saying the same thing, but we're just saying it differently. And so hopefully that kind of covers it. But, of
yeah,
course, if anybody has any questions or anything to add, please just put it in the comments. And, Eric and I will look at it and we'll say, maybe we need to talk more about it. But I think the
yeah, we
message that
covered
we're
it.
trying,
Yeah, we covered everything.
yeah.
So pretty much really, really important. Like no matter where you think you are at, good idea to feel through it because more you feel it, more you clear yourself, more you clear collectives, and then everything gonna go to 5D. The problem, people have been in lower dimension is they weren't really feeling through anything before. Now more people are feeling through it because of there's always positive side of something's happening. So in our current situation, even that, a lot of people decided to look within themselves, their feelings. So this
Hmm.
is why a lot of changes are happening in our timeline. So that's a
And
good
there's
thing.
and there's a lot of us supporting each other.
Yeah,
I see in the threads, the social media threads, somebody puts out what they're feeling. And, it used to be when people would do that, I would see, a lot of judgment. Well, if you just do this or this, and now what I see is people saying, "Hey, I've felt that way too," or, "Really sorry you're going through this. I'm sending you some love through the airways." Or support or good vibrations, however they say it, but it's support nonetheless. And that's very, very encouraging.
yeah,
Um, I'm starting to see humanity, so many more people than I ever did before, just coming out and supporting total strangers. And it's very positive, it's very encouraging. And I just hope we keep seeing more and more of it. And I think that's when we'll know we're fully in 5D, is when you see all of the world, humanity coming out and helping each other instead of tearing each other down. And that's why I'm the most hopeful, because I'm starting to see so much of it.
definitely.
Yeah.
So any last word before we go?
Nope, that's it for me, man. Thanks for the time to talk about this.
This is a really valuable experience. Thank you, Sue, for sharing your experience. And yeah, people keep on feeling their feelings and then feel through it instead of hold on to the feeling, feel through it. So it's gonna just pass through you. I won't retain. So it's not gonna affect on your vibrational level if you feel through it. Just like a filter, you know. So anyhow, so thank you so much for watching. Please share, like, subscribe, and then we see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.